Welcome to Rich Conversations. I want to try something different today, although we have done it in the past, back in 2019. And that is a Wikipedia rabbit hole search adventure. So what we're going to do, this is kind of experimental now. I'm setting a timer for 10 minutes. Let's do 11 minutes, just so it's not perfect. Ready, go. Okay, so what we're going to do now is just go on Wikipedia. Okay. I'm going to pick a word from this book, The History of Libraries. I don't know if you can see it. The History of Libraries in the Western World. We're going to open it up randomly, page 153. And we're just going to pick a phrase or a word. Unfortunately, we're on Paris. Let's look up the Sorbonne. The Sorbonne. That's our word. So now what we do is go to Wikipedia. I'm sharing my screen. It came up John Dillinger is the first thing. I'm working on some fiction, and I just needed some more information about John Dillinger. You'll find that with a lot of writers, go through their Google search history, you'll find some really strange stuff. Anyways, we decided Sorbonne. I've been by the Sorbonne actually. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we're just gonna read and see what sticks out to us. Okay. This is the Jardin des Plantes. So now we go on to a different thing. So we start with the curiosity of the Sorbonne, and then we see what strikes us or gets our attention after that. And I clicked on this Garden of the Plants, because I think I had been there. Yeah, it's by the Paleontology Museum. Is this it? Yeah, that's it. Okay. So this I love going to natural history museums, even if it's a very small museum. I'm very fascinated how paleontology, natural science is presented all over the world or in different spaces. For instance, the city of Kenosha in Wisconsin, a smaller city, they have a science museum along the lake that is relatively newer, but then they also have a dinosaur, like a fossil museum that used to be the post office. So it's the post office. Think of an old, Art Deco, 1920s-ish, 20th century structure. And then they have like models of fossils, including a Tyrannosaurus Rex in there. So that's super cool. The paleontology, the Natural Science Museum in Paris was really unique looking. It's what you would imagine a 19th century, I have a photo up here. It's like, if you look at it, it's what you would imagine a 19th century European natural history museum would kind of look like, and they haven't changed it much. London was like this too, although the Natural History Museum in Paris is it's quite tiny. It's quite small. London is pretty large. Then the Field Museum, my favorite, my flagship, is large as well. Paleontology, from the Enlightenment era, not quite the Renaissance. It doesn't quite go back as far as significance back then, but when we were pushing late 18th century, that's when paleontology and fossils really became of interest. And England was definitely at the forefront of this. Germany, they have a lot of fossils, but nothing quite as extraordinary as North America. The land in North America produces, or has allowed us to discover, enormous creatures. This is your Stegosaurus, your Triceratops, Tyrannosaurus Rex, Allosaurus, all these big ones. And it speaks to just America in general being kind of bigger and more adventurous, and whereas European, everything's a little smaller, right? But I always enjoy natural history museums. Miami, I go there like their natural history museum. It's more like a science museum, but they do have some mammal fossils. They have an exhibit with birds and flying, so they show kind of the evolution of it from dinosaurs evolving into birds, and they have a big dinosaur with feathers. In Spain, I went to the history museum in Valencia, and the Natural History Museum, Science Museum, is in a building designed by Calatrava, Santiago Calatrava. So you have this very, glass and like abstract shapes. So it's interesting to explore the architecture of natural history museums in relation to, these brown kind of objects. It has the Paris, it's the, French Museum of Natural History, is that the name of it? Galerie de Paléontologie. That's my French. It probably has the coolest kind of aesthetic. Now, I'm partial towards these kind of aesthetics, but it's very old, but it's a little bit more playful than London. London, their designs are quite rigid. But yeah, you have this big hall. There's 2 or 3 halls, and they just kind of have fossils on display. It's really old-timey. It's very romantic. Yeah, so here's another photo of the gallery. This is the mammals one. Yeah, that's the outside of it. I have some like selfies outside when I went January 2020 there. What is this? Now we're going to check out the Paris Exposition. 1900 Paris. So this is a World's Fair held in Paris, France, in 1900. I always wanted to go to a World Fair. Are those? I think they're still around, but they're not quite as extravagant or meaningful as they used to be. These World Fairs were extremely significant in revealing the progress of the past 4 years, and they would commemorate, like, a century, or, every city would have their own thing that they would put on. Chicago, the city where I live, that is one of the biggest cultural events of its entire history, is the World Fair, Columbian Exposition 1893. So Chicago was known as this very industrial city, quite dirty, quite, they're basically creating the food for the country, and they ship it to the East Coast, and the East Coast would be manufacturing, so they would send all equipment and supplies to the Midwest, and the West in the U.S., the way we think about it now, hadn't been quite developed yet. So Chicago was a center point of the country, and the railroads were huge, and so they put on the World Fair of 1893, and it was a showcase of Chicago as a cultural destination, a cultural city. So they did it big. They did it huge, and it's still renowned today. That's when electricity was first promoted. There's a whole bunch of things that were... Let's look it up. World Fair. So we'll go through Wikipedia to get to it, because I'm sure it will be here. Alright, here we are. Yeah, so these expositions are every 4 years. London was the first, Paris second, London the third, Paris the fourth. Then we got Chicago right here. So this is what I was talking about. And it's so enchanting and magical. Walt Disney, his father was a construction worker, I believe, who worked on the World Fair and building that, and the stories that he would tell of this enchantment inspired Walt Disney of, these fairy tale castles and the way it looks. And so Chicago has the World Fair played a very significant role. Let's see, do they have the assassination of the mayor? Yeah, Carter Harrison. The Devil in the White City is a fantastic book. If you've ever read it, it's really cool, because it mixes history and narrative along with history, nonfiction of building the World Fair. So it's these two kind of timelines of the serial killer, H.H. Holmes, and the World Fair at the same time. So there's the kind of timelines of that. Now, we did come up on our time. Let's go another 2 minutes. We'll wrap up in 2 minutes. Go. Okay. Yeah, so these world fairs, countries around the world will have exhibits of their cultures and what they have. Looks like religions. Yeah, everything was painted white. So it was nicknamed the White City, and that's where, say, like Walt Disney, everything is white, and these buildings are so gorgeous, designed by like Burnham and Louis Sullivan. Yeah, here's Burnham. The only building that's left actually was the arts building, because that was the only one that was built fireproof, because it was gonna have a lot of art, right? And now that's the Science and Industry Museum in Chicago. Beautiful building. Oh, here's Devil in the White City. Yeah. The Ferris wheel. That was the World Fair. That's why Chicago, Navy Pier, the Ferris wheel is a big deal. It was the first Ferris wheel, because they were trying to outdo the Eiffel Tower. The Eiffel Tower was in 1887, or that was revealed then. And this is the industrial age, right? Where you're mixing steel and you really want to show industry and progress, manufacturing. Yeah, look at these images. It's so romantic. Later criticisms, yeah, there's always criticism. Electricity, yep. Yeah, it was with that. Tesla's company, there were two different kinds of electricity, and that's 2 minutes already. Thomas Edison's company had direct current DC electricity, and it was GE or Tesla or something, Westinghouse Electric. They had alternate current, and they underbid Edison's company to get the contract for the World Fair to light up the entire fair, and it went so successfully that Edison's company just went AC electric after that, because that then set the standard for electricity. Yeah. Okay, we got a list of painters here. John Singer Sargent, very Chicago established, famous painter. Yeah, this is quite a big. Okay, edibles, creamed wheat, peanut butter, Chicago World Fair. You're welcome, world. Cracker Jacks, Aunt Jemima, Pabst Blue Ribbon, Quaker Oats. Oh, that's great. I eat oats every day. That's great. Juicy fruit gum, Hershey chocolate, it looks like. Vienna sausage, Cracker Jacks, shredded wheat, Ferris wheel, moving walkway, travel elevator. Anyways, so that was just a quick little dive into Wikipedia, just to kind of show we can spark our curiosity with very little, right? We don't have to need much to start, but just a starting point, right? And I just grabbed a random page out of this book and then just started. I used to do these every week. I would set a timer for 45 minutes, and then I would just go on an adventure at Wikipedia. And it demonstrates, again, we just need a little bit. We just need to start, a spark of curiosity, and then just keep going. And, think about, we can then pull from it, and then also it might trigger some reflections in general. So if you enjoyed this, let me know. We'll keep doing these. And just a nice little experiment. So be well.